Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my segments of analysing the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex. Today I'm going to be looking at the Fulgurite Electro-Priests. Now, I haven't played either variant of the Electro-Priests in 8th edition yet, however, every time I've looked at them now, and especially now that I've done quite a bit of reading on them, I'm getting more and more impressed by them. Especially considering in 7th edition I was not. So, how this review will work is that I'm going to basically look at their stat lines, I'm going to look at their weapon options, for these guys there's only one, their special abilities, and then I'm going to review sort of their strengths and weaknesses of how you should play them, along with a couple of Forge World rules I'd recommend and stratagems. So with that, let's have a look at their stats. So they're movement 6, which is average. Basic sort of foot slogging sort of style. Weapon skill 3, which is excellent because they've mainly got melee capabilities. Bliss skill 4, which is fine because they don't have any shooting or ranged capabilities. Strength 3, it's not actually going to matter, I'll explain that in a minute. Toughness 3, which is not ideal, they are quite squishy in that sense. 1 wound apiece, they are standard infantry. 2 attacks apiece, which they benefit greatly from. Leadership 8, which is really handy. I think that's braver again than a Space Marine without Sergeant, I think. And they have a 6-up save, which is not ideal, but they do have ways to mitigate that quite impressively. So the weapon they've got is Electro Leech Stave, which is a melee weapon. It adds +2 to the strength, so that makes them strength 5, -2 AP and D3 damage apiece. And even better, each time you make a wound roll of 6+ with this weapon, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds instead of normal damage. So you've got, quite nice strength, quite nice AP, a random amount of damage, but potentially good damage that can become mortal wounds. Quite a solid weapon, I'd have to say. Special abilities they've got is Canticles of the Messiah. Every AdMech unit just about has that more or less. If you don't have it in your detachment, you lose the Canticles of the Messiah rule, so you've got to make sure that everything you keep in a detachment does have it. They have Volgeist Fields. All models in this unit have a 5-up invul save, so not bad. When this unit completes a charge move, pick one of the target units you charged and roll a d6 for each model in the charging unit. Any rolls of 6 inflict a mortal wound on the unit you picked. So certainly if you're charging hordes, say it's a unit of 5 boys, you're going to cause probably about 5 wounds as you just charge in before you actually start hitting them with your staves. So that's kind of cool, that's really good. Maybe not good when you're going to go against just characters, but still kind of nice to have. They also have Siphoned Vigour. If this unit wipes out an enemy unit in the fight phase, their invul save is increased to 3+ for the rest of the battle. So that's really nice, that really adds on to their survivability because a 3-up invul is nothing to be sniffed at, and really nice. You just got to make sure you eliminate a unit in fight phase as soon as possible. And then they also have Fanatical Devotion. Each time a model in this unit loses a wound, roll a d6. On a 5 or a 6, the model does not lose the wound. So again, another layer of survivability. You've got a 5-up invul that can become a 3+ invul, and a 5-up feel no pain sort of roll as well. So that sounds pretty good on that. So as I said, I actually haven't played them yet, I only own 5, but I will talk about how I sort of would use them and their sort of strengths and weaknesses here. So these guys are sort of the harder hitting unit of the Electro-Priests, certainly in the combat side they are, where they trade off a better weapon skill they trade off the weapon skill from the Bliss skill, which is fine because they can't actually shoot. It's perfectly acceptable. These guys hit hard in combat versus other troops. On average, you're going to need 3+ to wound if it's like toughness 4, and maybe 4+, against heavier targets such as I think Centurions. But due to their 6+ cause mortal wounds instead of normal damage, there are no slouch really against targeting vehicles or big creatures for that matter. Because mortal wounds are excellent, even with -2 damage as well. I think there was a case Games Workshop made a viable sort of example of them where they actually managed to eliminate Magnus, which is an impressive feat you know, for a combat unit to charge in and go Magnus, stay down, you know, so that's pretty good, you know. Pretty impressive, unless you're the guy running Magnus, in which case, heck it happens. However, I feel these guys need to target a unit carefully and take into consideration their Siphon Vigor rule. You want these guys to eliminate a unit in the fight phase as soon as possible to benefit from the 3+ invul, which will improve their survivability considerably. If one of your opponent models even survives the fight phase and then it goes on to the morale phase and they die or they decide to fall back, you can expect the retaliation from your opponent to be quite severe, because these guys have a good strength and good AP and possibly good damage and dump out mortal wounds like there's no tomorrow if given a chance. It can be tempting to hit a prize target quite early on, and you know, there'll be days where that's been called for. You might think about actually going for a smaller, more you know, vulnerable unit first, get that benefit, and then start moving towards other high price targets. Ultimate's choice of whether you want to go for the big kill and then hopefully get the big kill first, and might not destroy it, but you'll cause severe damage, or do you want to go for the more vulnerable one and get your survivability. I'm almost going to always go on the edge of caution and go survivability. But hey, there might be cases you've gone, nah, let's go big, you know, go big or go home, and you might get the best of both worlds and eliminate that target as well and get, you know, a big kill and also your 3+ invul. So as this does sound all kinds of good, they are a bit more expensive than their Corpuscarii brothers. You know, these guys are not that cheap, and they must get into combat to really make their points back because they've got no range capability as there is. You know, they do have their sort of survivability of having a 5+ invul and a 5+ fuel no pain, and as I've said, you know, a few times, these guys badly need it, but they need a transport. You know, Admech would love to have transport capabilities, they do not, so they do struggle to get up into the range melee to then get their 3+ invul, and you know, generally these guys are just crying out to get transport, but there's ways to get around that with Forge World rules and stratagems, which I'll talk in a minute. But generally they're quite weak. You know, if your opponent does see them on the field, you can bet that they're probably going to put out all their sort of shots that don't have AP, you know, bolter shots especially, to try and whittle these guys down, or Tesla weapons from Necrons, etc. You know, they do require that sort of stratagem to make sure they do get into their destination efficiently. One thing I would say, these guys actually do work in another capacity as well as sort of backfield defenders, maybe again for your turret robots or dune crawlers. If you're going to go down, you know, basically if your opponent's coming in with a horde unit or a Terminator unit that they've deep striked in and they're going to go, right, we're going to smash apart that dune crawler, these guys can work as a roadblock effectively for, you know, your guys as well. And if you manage to buy one turn where, you know, your Excellion robots and dune crawler get to fire, that's really nice. If you're going to go down the side of working as a backfield unit or going up the field if you decide to brave it, I'd probably recommend not really going maybe more than 10 guys in a squad. Basically just try and sit there, protect, try and wither the shots if your opponent does try to target them, but don't go any higher because you're not immune to the morale phase either. If you are deciding to sneak in, using various different stratagems, then maybe go bigger, you know, maybe go for it. You know, these guys need as many attacks to ensure that their survivability buff, Siphon Vigor, does go off. So even taking a 20-man squad is quite expensive, but if you manage to get the charge and eliminate a unit and your opponent's backline, these guys are going to be scary. They will attract a lot of shots, but getting the 3+ invul and the 5+ feel no pain is going to be quite painful for your opponent to actually start moving them. By that time, hopefully you've eliminated the unit as well. So yeah, although they do need to transport, there are ways to get them there, and then you can improve their survivability as well, which is really, really nice. Forge World Dogma recommendations. I'm going to always start with Mars because it allows you to get 2 canonical rules, and these guys certainly do benefit from them. You want to go with Chant of Remorseless Fist, because those rerolls to hit are really nice, and you want to go for probably Invocation of Machine Might to make them strength 6. It means that if you're targeting stuff that are toughness 3, then yeah, you wound on a 2+. Heck, I think you start hitting Primarchs that are not demons on a 4+ when you get that. So that's really nice as well. Interestingly, you don't want Shroud Slam, because these guys really won't benefit from it. So 5-up invul, even if you've got cover, will make you a 5-up save. 5-up invul sort of matches that and typically beats it. And you might even get your 3-up invul, so they don't want Shroud Slam. Again, the rest of your army probably does. Ryza, red and Cog and Claw is very good for these guys, as they'll mostly wound sort of basic troops in a 3+. Then rerolling those ones is, you know, it's difficult to find that sort of reroll wounds in the combat phase for armies in general. So having that is really handy, because that reroll 1 might turn into 6 and you add in a mortal wound, which is really, really nice. So having that as a forward roll, if you plan to take loads of these guys, might be quite cool. Stygus 8 for the minus to your opponent's shooting, which is always very helpful as you move up the board. It makes them a bit more survivable. But they also have the deep strike option for command points, which is highly recommended as well. But I'll talk about that in the stratagems next. Stratagem Legio Teleportarium, which is a Lucius stratagem only. This allows your unit to essentially deep strike. This is very handy if you set them up in strike range of, you know, sort of your ranged weapons. You want to hold them back maybe like a turn or two, see where your opponents of their vulnerable units are starting to appear, or maybe they're moving down to vulnerable units of yours. You can set them up as low roadblocks or target into an area you want them to be. So having that deep strike rule is kind of really handy. You've then got personal preferred one, Clandestine Infiltration, for which is from Stygus 8 only. Basically, you set them up in the first battle round, anywhere on the battlefield, as long as they are 9 inches away from your opponent. The important difference is, because you've set them up in the battle round, you can actually move them, they're 6 inches, and then charge. I think you'd only fail in that case if you've got a double 1, in which case immediately use a command point to reroll that 1, or one of them, to get you into charge, because the sooner that you eliminate a unit, their survivability just increases significantly. So that's a really, really, really good stratagem to go with if you go Stygus 8, if you're taking like a big blob of Fulgurite Electro-Priests. Next up we have the sort of Electro-Priest exclusive stratagem, which is Zealoid Congregation. Yep, it's Electro-Priest exclusive and works best for these guys more than the Corpuscarii. Essentially at the end of the fight phase, these guys fight again. Pretty steep for 3 command points. However, this is clearly when you want to bring down big units that you need to be bashed in for a second time. I'm pretty sure this is, you know, targeted towards Magnus and other Primarchs, you know, just to ball up a whole bunch more mortal wounds on them. Also, if your rolls to kill on a unit in the fight phase to get your 3-up invul don't go well, then this will pretty much all but ensure that you bash them down and you get that sort of extra 3-up invul. However, you are spending 3 command points to maybe kill 1 or 2 models to get a 3-up invul, and it might be a bit steep on that side. But certainly if you're rocking 20 of them in a unit, you kind of want to make sure they are getting that 3-up invul or smashing Magnus to death. So yeah, that is the Fulgurite Electro-Priests. Certainly a very, very nice melee unit, especially once they get their full capabilities. They can be quite scary. Please let me know in comments of how you've used them, because as I said, I've not personally used them yet, but I really want to now. I really, really do. There's loads of options to actually make them kind of interesting now. So let us know how much success you've had with them. Myself and other viewers would probably really like to know. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Please check us out on social media, check out our projects that we've got coming on. We also put some humorous posts up there as well, and the community posts as well. And please share, comment, like and subscribe. So thanks again guys, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.